Just trying to make sure everything is great. There we go. Everybody is looking good. We're looking good right now. All platforms are on. All platforms are on. Let me see something here. But once again, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming on, and I thank you for your time and with me on Mondays and Saturday evenings. Saturday evenings and Monday evenings. I know it becomes a bit. Wait, what is going on here? Why are we not? For some reason, I don't know what is the problem with Facebook. I don't understand. The other day we were all in Facebook. Sunday morning we were good. Today we're shut out. We're shut out. So let me do this. Just give me a second, everybody. Just give me 1 minute right here. Let me get 1 minute here. Let me get 1 minute here with Facebook. 1 minute. For some reason, Facebook is not. I don't ever understand what's really going on with Facebook half the time. There's one days it lets me on, then there's other days it don't let me on. It is really a pain in my neck. It really becomes a real hassle when we come online and everything else is working perfectly, and everything else wants to act a fool. We're going to do this right here, right now, as we see. We're on Facebook. We're going to go straight from Facebook on, because for some reason I can't come on here. So we're going to be talking on two different sets. This is really, really crazy. And I'm going to have to set everything up. It is so go live. It is so aggravating for me. It is so aggravating. Well, ladies and gentlemen, never mind. I'm sorry if you can't get on Facebook. Facebook is just something that I'm just not too happy with right now. With what they do. Everything else you allow all kind of other crazy stuff come on, but my system, you don't come on. We don't come on. No, I'm not trying to create an event. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'd like to welcome you and thank you for your time and your energy and everything that we are trying to do. As you know, God and Jesus Christ Ministries. I think we've been doing this for almost about six months. I believe almost 6 to 7 months. No, I'm sorry. About almost a year. I think we're almost a year in. We're almost a year in with our live. We're almost a year in, and we want to thank all of you for coming out. And well, I'm saying coming out like you're actually coming to visit to the location. But I like to thank you for your time coming on and giving your time to be here. That's one thing I want to. Excuse me. One thing I want to actually feel good about is that you all come here and you listen to me as I give you the Bible studies on Mondays and the Bible studies on Saturdays and Sundays, and the sermons on Sundays. And I like to thank all of those that have come out. Now, where's that piece of paper that I have? Okay, yes, for all of those that I have. For those cities and states that have been in placed and doing what they needed to do. I'm very happy for your time that you spent with me. Unfortunately, for some reason, I can't get Facebook to act, to even acknowledge my thing. I am so frustrated with Facebook. I feel like even getting rid of it, just kicking Facebook off to the side. Somebody told me to do Messenger. They said it would be better. I'm not sure if it will be better. But I'm going to pray in and then give you the announcements. Heavenly Father, as we come here today to get into your word, we pray that each and every person that is in earshot of hearing this, and each and every person that is on the line, it resonates within their hearts and their minds, and they turn themselves to you. We give you thanks for waking us up this morning, allowing us to go through our daily activities. And we also give thanks for any sufferings that we may be going through that helps us grow in our spiritual journeys. Heavenly Father, we give thanks to all those that we meet, whether they dislike or like us. We give thanks that we have met them in this time and place. Also, Heavenly Father, we give thanks. We want to ask for you to cover anybody who's going through anything, whether sickness or loss of a loved one or even depression. Touch them, give them strength, let them know that they can overcome and endure through whatever trial or tribulation they are going through. And we ask this in your son's name, in Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, like I said, Facebook is really got me tickled because Saturday we weren't on. Sunday morning we were on. Now I don't know what's going on with Facebook. I really don't know. When I come on here, I see certain things. I just don't know. I don't know. Maybe I have to do it manually, set the things up manually so everything will work according to its plan. But unfortunately, tonight I don't have no access to Facebook. Just a few announcements that we're gonna employ and do is we're going to what a few that we're gonna what we're gonna do is we're going to we want to make acknowledgments to our overseer, Apostle Ella J. Alexander. Also, the micro school that we're working on. We probably will have it maybe near the end of the year. I'm still working on the curriculum, what I would like to see happen and what I would like to see done in the curriculum. That's what that's what I'm looking for, is what we will be having in the curriculum, what we'll be doing with the curriculum. So what we'll be going with the curriculum. Such as like what books we'll be reading out of. I really can't. Sometimes I'm just so flustered by what I have in front of me. So what we're looking at, while I'm sitting here, I'm trying to get Facebook to acknowledge what I'm doing and where I'm going. But for some reason, it's not acknowledging anything I'm doing. I don't know what's going on. I really don't. It really irks me when this happens because I post something and then they have their stupid, I say stupid rule, which hurts to the point. But what I'm going to say, ladies and gentlemen, we're looking. This is this is one of the most hectic things I can believe. I can't believe I can't even get on this live from Facebook. I'm still trying because I know there's people that want to get on here. Oh, that's one reason why they didn't change they Facebook is I know I did this. I know I changed, they they mess with the times, and this is why. Oh my God. They really I set this up way ahead of time. Mm. Oh wait, hold on. I think this was set at 7:30. Oh, that's probably why. Um, let's go. Let's go. That's why. I just looked at the time. I just looked at the time. I see it was probably set at 7:30, and it it still should everything still should have came on. Oh my God. This is what we're going to be in tonight. Let me make my announcements. The micro school, I'm still working on the micro school for me. Also God in Jesus Christ Ministries. We have our iHub, which is we have the iHub, which you can be on. The iHub, we're going to you can go to the iHub, and you can then be on the iHub. You can see everything on the iHub. All the ministries that I'm a part of, you can see that as well. Let me see if I can figure out what else I need to do here. No, it's not private. It's public. It's not private. Public. Okay. So the iHub is the iHub is you can go on the iHub and see all the ministries that I'm a part of. Our World Gospel radio station is still going strong. Evening 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Is let me just leave that alone and let me go on back. Let me go ahead because this really done frustrated me now because it just aggravates me. iHub is iHub. You can go to the iHub and follow all the ministries we have. I'm beginning to put all the ministries that's under VLF, Victorious Living Faith Ministries. I'm beginning to put all that up there together. Um, we're putting all that on there together, and I'm making sure that all that there so you can follow them on the radio website. You can also see the ministries we're under BLF, and you'll see my ministry, Apostle Hunt, which is New Things National Ministries, Apostle Young, which is Healing Waters Ministry International, Pastor Mark Dudley, which is Inspired Word. You can also see Prophetess Dixon, who is Soul Veracity International Outreach Ministries. I hope I got that correct. So you'll see all those ministries on the iHub, on the radio, on RBM Smooth radio station on their website. The text prayer request line is still operating. That's 833-943-3973. You can text the prayer line, the prayer request line, and go and leave a prayer request for me. You can do that. So I don't know what happened. It's like every now and then, Facebook tends to change. I really get flustered with the changing. You can't do this, you can't do that, you you can't do this, and when you do certain things, they block you for really for me. I feel like it's real silly reason and blocking people, and I'm really aggravated when I see things like that. What happens? Um, so that's why you see me. I do these things before the night. When the night ends, I go and try to set everything up and make sure everything is correct. And then when I come sit here in front of you, knowing I'm just a little bit late because I was coming from a workout with a young man, and this happens right in front of me. And now Facebook doesn't. I can't get on. Saturday I couldn't get on. Sunday I was able to get on. Tonight I can't get on. It's so frustrating. But nevertheless, we're gonna push through with this. If you can still go to um, any of the other platforms, and we're going to be moving our platforms around so people can go on those platforms and see those platforms. Okay, so you can go on those other platforms and see them. If you ever can't get on Facebook, if you don't see me on Facebook, click on to the sermon.net. It should bring you, still should be able to come straight to sermon.net. It should still bring you right to to sermon.net, straight through. Or you can go to the GJCM Church Online platform, and you can message me there as well, because I kind of go back and forth between the two. But tonight we're going to be in the Book of Esther. And we got one more woman woman in the Bible person to look at, and that's later what we're going to look at. For the Book of Esther, the authorship is anonymous. They do not, like at this time, the scholars do not have a author for it. It's no explicit claim. There is no explicit claim. Also, it aligns with several other canonicals, canonical books that are in the Bible that also don't have authors to them, even though the names may be there, like Joshua, the Book of Judges, or First and Second Samuel, and First and Second Kings. But they are considered, they were divine inspiration, and is affirmed without named human authors. So when the church fathers looked at this and they saw that these books had the people that they needed, they found that it's divine. It's inspired. It's an inspired there. Also, it's points share. There is points where it shares, where it has clues of evidence that they believe, or they may say it points to Mordecai as a possible author. And I think within the verse, in the chapter of the book, and in verse, it's 9, chapter 9, verse 23. That's where the answer is. Now, let me see if I have it. I had little notes here for myself to tell me about this book. And now for some reason, we did write it down, didn't we? Yes, we did. This book is this book was written. Where did I put that information? I had it real quick, and now I lost it. I just had a quick little information, little tidbit here about it. Oh, it's right at the bottom of the book. This book was, well, this happens in the time Asherus, the king of Asherus, the king of Persia. This is around Persia, and Shushan is the area which he emperors, and it happens around between 483 to 473 BC. Okay, and in this we see him taking the reins. If you read in the book, you're going to understand. But I'm going to ask you. We see in this book, in chapter 1 all the way up to 3, the king he throws this fabulous banquet, this lavish banquet. This is like his third year in reign, so he throws this lavish banquet, and he asks his queen to display her beauty, and she refuses to display her beauty. And when she refuses to display her beauty to this drunken prince, Asheroth, he begins to feel like that's a total disrespect to him. That's like, how dare you do that to me? How dare you 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 not answer to what I ask? How dare you go and not answer to what I asked you to do? And he gets upset. He disposes of her, as the Bible would say. He gets rid of her. She loses her queenship, and the people there they ask him to remove her, sort of like rebuke her from her spot, rebuke her from the queenship. So he now goes and finds another queen. He now is looking for another queen. And he finds, as they bring up several women, and he finds Esther. He finds Esther, and he sees Esther is beautiful, and she's lovely, everything. She's beauty, but he doesn't know that she's a Jew. He doesn't know, because she hides her identity. She's hiding her identity. So he takes Esther. She now moves into the queenship. She has now become the queen. And also in this, as you read through, you hear about let me see what his name is, so I make sure I got the right person. I got to make sure I always have the right person. Let me get to this part. Because he makes this decree later. The king makes this decree, but he makes this decree. That's Nehemiah. So in this, the king says, the wise man who understand the time, for it was custom of the king to speak this way before all who knew Persian law and just. He was talking about the law to the people. At that point in time, he threw a banquet. She forgot, she didn't want to bow down for the women in the palace, which belonged to the king Asherah. On the seventh day, when the heart of the king was cheerful with wine, he ordered he ordered them to come forth and bring her before the king with her royal turban in order to display her beauty to the people and to the officials, for she was beautiful. But she refused to do this. She had refused to do this, and the by the officers, the king ordered delivered by the officers. So the king became very angry, and his wrath burned within him. So he got angry for what she has done as the queen. She is kind of said, okay, I'm not gonna display my beauty for you or anything like that. As time went on, he had the queen, was wrong. Not only the king, but also all the officials and all the people who were in all the providence of King Asherosh. Uh, for the queen conduct will become known to all the women, so as to make their own husband. So, in other words, what the king, when the queen did this to him, they're saying in the book, as you read it, and I'm reading from the New American Standard Bible. What they're saying is that because she's rebelled against the king's wishes, that the men, their wives, will also um, go against the man's wishes. And this can't be. And that's probably during this time. If you were in this time and you was a woman and you disobeyed your husband, that was a severe no. It's not like in today's time where you disobey your husband, he divorce you. And during that time, it was very different because women were looked at as property. Yes, women were looked at as property. You were looked at as, this is maybe my wife, but she is my. You would, just like if you when you look on TV sometimes in ancient and various time frames that is set, you will hear the person say, "This is my." They'll say, "This is she is my property," and it may be his wife, but she was his property. So he had put this decree out to them, and also we go down, and she was uh successor and sought. So they were looking for a successor for her, another woman to take her place. It was just not like he just said, "Okay, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z." He just like, "Hey, look, I'm getting rid of you. We getting rid of her. She's gonna put a damper on everything that we do. She's gonna put certain things in there that she shouldn't put in there, and we can't have that throughout the land." Um, okay, and we later on, excuse me for that. Um, later on, I think that this for 10. Yeah, okay. I'm hoping that was this ends at 10 and not earlier. Um, we see, and may the king appoint overseers in all the province of his kingdom, and have them bring every beautiful young virgin to the uh Sedekal, um to them. Um, what we also see here is there was a Jewish, as we see here, there was a Jewish woman in this, and she was related to Mordecai. She was related to Mordecai. And Esther was found with favor. And as you look down in verse 8, she is later found with favor with the king. So she winds up taking the place. He took attentive to her and things. But also within this, there was a moment where one of the Harmon Har, Harmon wanted wanted to have Mordecai people bow down to him. And Mordecai, he didn't bow down. He did not bow down. And it showed her that she was not to reveal to them that she was a Jew, because in this sense she was made not to show that she was a Jew, and to go into the woman. As we go down further and further, now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of um, Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, had taken her as his daughter, came came to go into the king, and she did not request anything except what Haggai, the king's officer, who was in charge of the women, advised. And Esther was finding favor in the eyes of all who saw her. So everybody that had saw this who had saw Esther found favor with her and everything else. Like I said, one of the officers had put a thing out that he wanted Mordecai to bow. Mordecai said, "I ain't bowing to you. I'm not going to bow down to you." And so he was so flustered. He was so angry about this. He wanted all Haman uh, was filled with rage. Okay, here's where it is, and we're going to see this in chapter 3. He had a plot. Ha, Haman, Haman, he in 3, he had a plot to um, go against the plot or to kill all the Jews. He also had this honor to honor him, the son, to honor him and to establish his authority over all the officials who were with him. So he was talking to the king to say, "Hey, look, give me authority so I can be over all these guys here. You know, you have an organization, and there's a guy who seeks he seeks authority. He wants people up under him. So he reaches out. He says, I want all these guys up under me. So he asked that all the king's servants who were at the king's gate bowed down and paid homage to Haman, and Parliament, for so the king had commanded regarding him. But Mordecai neither bowed down nor paid homage. So Mordecai didn't do this. He didn't. Now remember, Esther, she's found favor with the king, and she is with the king. And Mordecai is basically telling this, like, you be quiet about your relationship, that you are a Jewish woman. You're a Jew, so you're hiding that. Okay, he had commanded her. Why are you violating the king's command? Now it was when they had spoken daily to him, and he would not listen to them, that they told Hannah to see whether Mordecai's reason would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew. So he's letting them know that he was a Jew. When Hannah saw that Mordecai neither bowed down nor paid homage to him, Haman was filled with rage, but he considered it beneath his dignity to kill Mordecai alone, for they had told him who the people of Mordecai were. So Hannah sought to annihilate all the Jews, and the people of Mordecai who were found with throughout the kingdom of Asherah. And so all these people within this kingdom, all these Jews that were there, because this is what we have. This is what you have when you have people who who seek authority. And when these people seek authority, this is what they do. They say, hey, look, we're going to take on this. We're going to do this. We want this to happen and we want that to happen. We want to take this. We want to take this so that this can happen. And that's not what had happened. So Mordecai had let told her of this deed, told Esther of this deed that this Haman was going to do. His name is spelled Haman. So I may be pronouncing it wrong. I apologize for if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I'm breaking it down as I see. So Haman or Hangman. So we're seeing this, and we're looking at this. So she is told to conceal her her identity, her Jewish identity in this. So now what we're looking at here is he's made this plan. So now in the seventh month, in the seventh month, which the month is uh Isan, Isan. So this would probably be around June in what we consider the Gregorian calendar, July. So if you compare the seventh month with what they're calling Isan, is Insan. You put that in and you see where that falls on the Gregorian calendar, and then you know. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, when I researched the Jewish calendar had 30 days in each month, 30 days in each month. And some of the months were like a combined month. Like when we go down to the 10th, when we get to the 10th month is July. I'm sorry, the 10th month is December and January. We'll get to that part when we go down that way. So we see, I'm sorry, did I say in the seventh month? I'm sorry, in the first month, which is the month Nisan. I said seven, my mistake, which is Nisan, uh, in the 12th year of this king's reign. Pure that that is the lot was cast before Hannah, from day to day and from month to month until the 12th month. So now we're at the 12th month. That is Adar, the 12th month, the month is that is the month Adar. So now we'll look at what the 12th month Adar means. Now, I'm going to say that's the 12th month. That'll probably be their December. I'm not for sure because I didn't kind of research it yet. I did research it before, but I didn't research it again just to double check for this evening. Then he kind of put forth, scattered the he kind of wanted to go among the people in all the providence of your kingdom. Their law are different from those of all other people, and they do not comply with the king's law. So he's making a plea to the king to he wants to kill all the Jews. Now he wants to kill all the Jews. So we're going to get ready to get into chapter 4 real quick. So let's look at this. Have you in your life and in your time, have you ever stepped up for someone or spoke up for someone or intercede for someone to keep them from harm? So we're going to look at the book of Esther, which shows this example of intercession as Esther risked her life to save her people. Because remember, she's a Jew, and he's not he's not a Jew, he's a Persian. I believe this is also around the time of I think even when I first read it, this is also around the time of um captivity. Okay, I believe this is around the time of captivity also. So as we look at this, to save her people from destruction. So we're going to delve into the story and learn valuable lessons on the power of the intercession. We're going to have, there's 3 points I'm going to have on this. So let's look at verses uh, 1 through 4. So as we go into uh, chapter 4, when Mordecai learns so now there's this plot he knows. Mordecai is a Jew. He's a prophet. He's one of the prophets that kind of like he's a prophet. He then Mordecai learns of everything that had been done. He tore his clothes. When a Jewish person or a Jew tears their clothes, that is a sign of mourning. If you ever saw the jazz singer with what is his name now? Ooh, the jazz singer. You ever saw not the original jazz singer, the remake with what is his name? Neil Diamond. You ever saw the jazz singer with Neil Diamond? Neil Diamond is a Jew. He he knows how to be plays. He can play and sing, and he's with a band. There's a couple of guys that together. They're his friends, and they know he's a Jew, and they know he's got to go to to I forgot what they call the service that he had to go to, but he had to go to the service, and he comes in, he has to sing, and it, there's a scene where he's singing. I think it opens up where he's singing. He's in the synagogue, and he's singing. He's saying he sees his friends. One of his friends are dark skin. I'm gonna let you know that his friends are dark skin. So he sees his friends in the back. So he knows that it's time for them to go. They're going to go perform. They gotta have to be to the place where they're going to perform, and he's basically the main attraction at that point. So he starts singing faster to make everything move quicker to get out. And when he gets out, but to fast forward, he meets a lady. Him and his wife, they're not together. He's married in the movie. He's married to a Jewish woman as well. And what happens is because he goes out to California, he stays with a lady who is a producer, and she's his producer, I guess producer slash manager to get him rolling in the thing. And they wind up. His father comes to see him. First, his wife comes to see him, and his wife is hearing him say, and I'm going to get through this real quick. His wife hears him say about how much the woman is doing for him, what she's doing for him, and she becomes kind of jealous. She goes back home. I don't know what, they don't show what she tells the father. The father comes, he sees her with a man. My mistake, excuse me. He sees Neil Diamond with the woman. And Neil Diamond sees, and he tries to introduce the woman to his father, but his father, instead of listening to him, he rips his his um thing, and he leaves. Now the character that plays his father, if I'm not mistaken, is Laurence Olivier. If I'm not mistaken, don't take my word for it. But when he does that, he tells the woman, that means I don't exist. I'm dead to him. So that's basically what this means. It's basically in mourning. They're in mourning. So Mordecai, um, He's going to put these ashes on him. He's going to put on sackcloth. He's going to stand at the. He's going to wail loudly and bitterly. And he came as far as to the king's gate, for no one was to enter the king's gate clothed in sackcloth. Because that means the sackcloth means you're mourning and things like that. And in verse 3, it says in verse 3, in chapter 4, verse 3, and each and every providence, there the command and decree of the king came. There was great mourning among the Jews, with fasting, weeping, and mourning rites. And many had sackcloth and ashes spread out as a bed. So they're gonna wear this sackcloth. They're gonna have these ashes, and this is their mourning of ritual. This is their mourning. And here's what happens with Esther. As she's noticing this. In verse 4, it says, "Then Esther attends, and her officers, these eunuchs came and informed her, and the queen said, seized by great tears, and she sent garments to clothe Mordecai." So she knows what he's doing, but she wants him to Mordecai. She wants Mordecai to be clothed, like put clothes on him, so that he would remove his sackcloth from him, but he did not accept them. Then Esther summoned uh, Het, Hetcha, from the king's eunuch, whom the king had appointed to attend her. So this person was like her own slave or her bodyguard that would be with her, that would, whatever she needed, they would get this for her. um, and whom the king had appointed to her to attend to her, and ordered him to go to Mordecai and learn what this mourning was and why it was happening. So she didn't know what was happening yet. She wanted to know why this was happening. Because Mordecai hadn't heard of this plan. He heard of this, and he's wanting it. So down here, Mordecai later on, and we see in verse 7, Mordecai told him everything that had happened to him, and the exact amount of money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the elimination of the Jews. So he paid money to these people to get all the Jews, that within that providence would be eliminated. Uh, he also gave him a copy of the text of the index, which had been issued in Susa for their annihilation, so that he might show Esther and inform her, and to order her to go into the king to impose his favor and plead with him for her people. So Mordecai is saying he's doing this to gain Esther's attention, so that now a messenger can come to him. He can tell the messenger what it is, and he can take it back to Esther, and Esther could go to the king and plead on the people's behalf, because they don't know. The king doesn't know that she is a Jew. He doesn't know this woman that he picked is a Jew. So as we see, Hekaz had came back and reported and reported to Mordecai's words to Esther. Then Esther spoke to Hettaz, and ordered him to reply to Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's providence know that for any man or woman who comes to the king in the inner courtyard who is not summoned, he has only one law, that he he be put to death unless the king holds out to his golden scepter so that he may live. And I have not been summoned to come to the king for these 30 days. And they reported Esther's words to Mordecai. Now, in 13 going all the way to 16, as we said, 13 all the way through 16. Then Mordecai told them to reply to Esther, do not imagine that you in the king's palace can escape any more than all the other Jews. For if you keep silent at this time, liberation and rescue will arise for the Jews from another place, and you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not attended royalty for such a time, attentive royalty for such a time as this. Now, in verse 15, this is Esther's plan to intercede. Esther told them to reply to Mordecai. And she says in 16, go gather all the Jews who are found in Susat, and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I have my attendants also will fast in the same way, and then I will go to the king, which is not in accordance with the law. And if I perish, I perish. So here we see she there's a rule that the king has, that nobody comes to the king unless he is summoned. If he or she is not summoned, they're put to death, because you're in other words, you're a threat. You weren't summoned, so why are you here? You're a threat to me, so I'm gonna get rid of you right away. That was the way they did things. It's not like you can barge in, like the president of the company. You can barge in and just start talking to the president, and he may ask for security to come to remove you. But in this case, if she was to go to him and he didn't summon her, she could be put to death. But what she asked was for all of the people in the province to all fast for 3 days. So that means, so for the day and night. Now you must remember, their time frame is not like our time frame at this time. Their time frame actually from morning to evening. So actually is from evening to day back to 6. So from 6 o'clock that evening, which would be 6 in the evening, actually starts a new day. So when, let's say today is Monday, so it's daytime now. But actually, if we look at it, last night at 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, would we say that's Sunday? No. Sunday ended at 6 p.m., which we call evening. That day on Sunday that's the time. Sunday's gone. Now, 6 6:01 starts a new day, going back around to all the way to 12 o'clock midnight. That's 12 hours. That would be, I'm sorry, that's 6 hours. That's 6 hours. That would be 6 hours. From 6 in the evening to 6, which would be 12 o'clock midnight for them, would be 6 hours. That would be just 6 hours for that night. And then when 6 o'clock in the morning comes, when it goes when 12 o'clock midnight, that's just 6 hours. Now from 12 o'clock to 6 a.m., you have 20. Hold on, I think I got it wrong. I think I got the time wrong. What we looked at is from the hours is 12 hours, 12 hours in a day. So we're just looking at 12 hours. So from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening would be 12 hours. That's 12 hours. That's how it would be. From 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. That's your 12 hours. That's your 12. That would be your 12-hour day. Yes. Okay. From 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening would be your 12-hour day. And as we find out later on, and then in Kemet, they begin to find the 24-hour clock. But it's kind of tricky how that time is set, because I was reading it and I'm saying, okay, because I was heard somebody mention something about the resurrection, 3 days and 3 nights. And then I looked at it and I kind of looked over it again and I read it, but it's kind of tricky because you got to look at the number that they had to take Jesus' body down before evening came. So that's how you look at it. But what we see here is Esther, and Mordecai urges Esther to intercede on the behalf of the Jewish people who are facing annihilation. Esther, she immediately, she intent, she initially she hesitates. Sometimes you're asked to do something and you don't do it right away. You kind of hesitate. You kind of like, oh, wait a minute, I can't do this, and she kind of hesitate, and she feared for her own life. But Mordecai reminded her that perhaps she was placed in her position as queen for such a time as this. Um, and Esther, and after he says that, she realizes the gravity of the situation and decides to take action, demonstrating her courage and her faith in the face of danger. That's just like sometimes we find ourselves in a position where we we find ourselves in a position where people have us, um, where we find people in our lives and they see us and they say, oh wow, when we didn't know that, they come in our lives and they become these people that now make up things for us and give us the courage. God puts us in a position for a certain reason. And this is what she does. She stands on her faith in that position that she's in. Also, the boldness of the intercession that we're going to later see in chapter 8, because she does get the chance to get ready to go to king, because she asked them to fast for 3 days and for 3 nights. So we fast. Now we're going to come to 3, as we're going to look at chapter 8, verse 3 and 7. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from verse 1, and we're going to go all the way through 8. We're going to probably stop at 8. I probably stop at 7. But Mordecai, he will be promoted because he has helped the king on this. He saved the king on that day. Because Esther now goes before the king and she pleads. What happens is, this is what happens. Now the king, what happens here is on the day uh, Ahasuerus gave the house of Hanan, the enemy of the Jews, to Queen Esther. And Mordecai came before the king because Esther had disclosed what he was to her. So she now discloses, but I'm going to double back to verse 7. What happens in verse 7? Um, as we see this guy, uh, he must honor, this guy must honor Mordecai. Hannah must he must honor Mordecai. Then the king says to Hannah, quickly take the robe and the horse, just as you have said, and do so for Mordecai the Jew, who is sitting at the king's gate. Do not fail to do anything of all that you have said. So Hannah took the robe and the horse and dressed Mordecai and led him on horseback through the city square and proclaimed before him, so it shall be done for the man whom the king desired to honor. So he was desired to honor Mordecai in this sense. Mordecai, he had returned to the king's gate while Hannah hurried home, mourning with his head covered. Um, he had formed Zares, his wife, and all his friends of everything that had happened to him. Then his wise man and Zara, his wife, said to him, if Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is the Jewish origin, you will not prevail over him, but will certainly fall before him. So they're letting them know that he's going to be doomed for the thing that he had tried to do. While they were still talking with him, the king's Uruk arrived and quickly brought Hannah to the banquet which Esther had prepared. So Esther had turned around and she prepared this banquet, and Esther pleads. And now we see in verse 7, chapter 7. Now the king and Haman, came to drink wine with Esther the queen. And the king said to Esther on the second day, also on the second day also, as they drank their wine at the banquet, what is your request, Queen Esther? And this is what it, and he also says, it shall be granted you. And what is your wish? Up to half of the kingdom is shall be done. Okay, so he's letting her know that all of what's going to happen, it will be done for her. So whatever her wish is, this will be done. I know I'm kind of skipping over a lot of things here because of time frames, because of what happened with Facebook. And I know, but I hope that you get to read the Book of Esther through the whole entire book and get it. And that's no excuse for me on my behalf. There's no excuse. That's just, I just didn't do my due diligence when making sure that Facebook was going to come on. All the platforms would be on like they supposed to. And that's my due diligence. And I'm very sorry for that. So he replied in this request. So then the Queen Esther replied. So then Esther replied, if I have found favor in your sight, O king, and if it pleases the king, Let my life be given, let my life be given me as my request, and my people as my wish. For we have been sold. I have my people to be destroyed. I'm sorry, I am my people to be destroyed, killed, annihilated. Now, if we had only been sold as slave men and women, I would have kept silent because the distress would not be sufficient reason to burden the king. Now in verse 5, he says, so we see in verse 8 what she's saying. She's boldly announcing to the king the plot. Here is the plot. Then King Ahasuerus asked Queen Esther, who is he and where is he? Who would who would presume to do such a thing? Now she says in verse 6, and Esther says, a foe and an enemy is this wicked Haman. This wicked Haman, she screams it out, this wicked Haman. Then Haman became terrified before the king and the queen because he knows he had done wrong. He had put something forth that the king has not signed off on. He did do a decree. There was a decree that was there was a decree that was placed out for them. This decree, um, what happens is this decree for that was put out there, Esther has the king reverse the decree that was launched earlier during this time when when the queen did not want to do this, which was in the 10th month, within the 10th month, debate, debate, Tibet, which is in December and January, and that's we see that. I just looking at a little note there that I for the month. But as we go back to this now, after they make this statement to him, you can look at him and say that he's mortified, he's terrified, he's in shambles right now. We see now he gets hung, he gets hung, but we see he gets hung. The king then got up and he got up in his anger. It means he brought up his anger. He came up with his anger. He was angry from drinking wine and went into the palace garden. But Haman stayed to beg for his life from Queen Esther, for he saw that harm had been determined against him by the king. Now, when the king returned from the palace garden into the place where they had been drinking wine, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was. Then the king said, will he even assault the queen with me and the horse? As the word went out, as the word went out of the king's mouth, he discovered Hannah's face. Then Habara, one of the Urish, who stood before the king, said, indeed, behold, the wooden gullet standing at Hannah's house, 50 cubits high, which Hannah made for Mordecai, who spoke good in behalf of the king. And the king said, hang him on it. So the thing he wanted to hang Mordecai on, he wound up getting hung on. So that's sometimes you can't do things to people and don't think you may get a repercussion to it. So as we see, Mordecai came before the king because Esther had disclosed the the the, the plot, and then the king took off his signet ring, which he had taken away from Hannah, and gave it to Mordecai. So he gives this insignia ring and he gives it to Mordecai. So now Mordecai has a ring that now when he shows that ring to anybody, they know it's from the king. Uh, in 2, which also throws us to 8, chapter 8, verse 3 and 7. The boldness of intercession, which Esther shows. We see Esther boldly approaches the king, to ultimately convincing the king to issue a decree to save the Jews. Esther boldness is interceding on behalf of her people, not only save them from destruction, but also demonstrates her unwillingly faith in God's prudent providence. God's providence, I mean to say. In fact, the intercession, and about point 3, the intercession, Esther's intercession had profound impact on the Jewish people, saving them from certain death. Her willingness to risk her own life for the sake of others serves as a powerful example and sacrificial love and selfishness. Remember what we said about love, the love that we said before. When somebody's willing to lay down their life for you, that's the most greatest love that you could ever have. Um, Through her action, Esther shows us the importance of standing up for those in need and speaking out against injustice, even when it may cost us dearly. A lot of times in our history, in this history of even this country here, a lot of people have stood up for people of different backgrounds, uh, different ethnic background, black, white, Spanish, Puerto Rican, whatever nationality you may be. There's a lot of people that have stood up for people, and when they stood up, they lost. They lost things that they worked real hard for, and they lost things that they lost. Some of them even lost their lives, which we don't read about and we don't really hear about a lot of things that happen. We only hear bits and pieces of this. That's why it's important for you to research everything. Just because people tell you they tell you what's in the Bible, but a lot of times people cherry pick what's in the Bible. It is important that you go to the Bible yourself and read the Bible yourself, and not just the King James. We have various different versions. Take 1, 2, and 3 different versions and read and see if it is the same. Like I said, there was a Bible that was given to me by my mother, and I remember the first time I started reading it, and I remember I saw this word, and I didn't know what the word meant because the word had no vowels in it. The first time I ever saw it. Now you're talking about a young man. When she gave me that Bible, I was still living. Let me see, I was maybe about 10, 12. I was young. I was still young. I know I was young because I was living with my grandmother at the time. But when you have that that Bible, you read it, and I saw vowels. I saw it YHWH. And I'm sitting there and I don't know what this word means. So I went to my grandmother. I showed her the word. I said, Grandma, what's that word? My grandmother automatically said, that's God's name. That's his sacred name. That's all she said to me. I went to my mother later on after having the Bible. I went to her and I said, what's this, Bunny? What's this word here? She said, that's God's sacred name. That's a name that most of the time they don't say. This is the Jews don't say his name. And I said, oh. So then I knew, but then later on I see there's vowels there. And so I said, oh, okay, all right. So, but we have people in this society that stood up for people in their name, which would probably cost them their lives, cost them their livelihood, cost them the things like during the time of segregation and prejudice. We see um, a person such one of the greatest moments is a person like Muhammad Ali, who stood up for not going to the draft, to going overseas to fight for this country because of what was going on here. He said, hey, I'm not going. And a lot of people disliked him for that. A lot of people hated him for that. But in reality, a lot of people respected him because he lost 3 years of his career. He lost a license. He couldn't make no money. His money to be made was him fighting in the ring. He couldn't fight. He had to walk around. Speaking engagements, he even did a play. I think Othello. He played Othello in a play. So he lost 3 years of his life. There were people that were singers, songwriters who would do things for black people, and because they try to push black people out there, they lost their positions. They lost their jobs. They were kicked out. There were people who, during the time of the great time where there was communism going on, I'm trying to think of this senator's name. He kind of McCarthy, Senator McCarthy, who was really a person who was strong on communism. He was pointing out people that were communists, and he was pointing at different people because people were associated with them, and some people kept quiet. Some people spoke up, and when people spoke up, they said, "Yeah, I know that person's a communist. I know that's their belief, but they don't hurt me." But people, because of who they associated with, because of their friendship, they lost their jobs. So you have to, when you read something like Esther and you see where she found a scheme to destroy a whole group of people, she opposes it to the king, and the king says, "Okay, you wanted to do this to Mordecai, so instead of you hanging Mordecai up there, we're going to hang you up on that post." And that's what happens. So she saves her people. She boldly, even knowing she may even lose her own life at the same in the instance. We don't have a lot of people that stand up for justice, injustice. And when you stand up for injustice, that's the one thing. So when we read the Bible, when you read a full chapter, ask yourself the question, what is that? What is this chapter saying to me? What what is the author trying to relate to me with this story? Who are the main characters of this story? Where are they at? Where are these main characters at? What is happening? And why is it happening? And for what reason is it happening? And then ask yourself, how does the main character of this story relate to today's time? That's how you get to an idea of understanding the Bible. You know, instead of taking one little verse and reading one little people. I've heard people say, well, they think you got to read the whole entire chapter to get an understanding. And no, all you need is one verse. You just need a context, but you need a context of just that particular within that verse that you're reading. You need the context. But now after you get the context, now why was that implemented? What was the reason? So now you really would have to read the whole chapter to really get the understanding. You can't just say, "Oh, that's why it is." Yeah, for that particular context, yeah, that's what they were talking about in that portion of this. But now, what's the other part of the chapter? So when you say, well, 4 and 5, your chapter 4, verse 3, or let's say 4, chapter 4, Matthew chapter 4, verse verse 10 only talks about this, or Matthew Matthew chapter 5 is the Sermon on the Mount, and 12 only talked about this, and it's talking about blah blah. But what was the reason for the whole chapter of Matthew? It was the blessings. It was the understanding of how to live a good life, how to live a righteous life. That's what it basically means. That's what it's about. So as you we go through, we're gonna go into later um next Monday, and I pray to God that Facebook stops with its little silly games. If not, don't worry, we'll figure it out. But just when you begin to read the Bible, just make sure that when you're reading, you understand the context of what you're reading. Do not see that everything, you see that everything is in your possession in the way you want it to be. As I said, when you read the Bible, just make sure that you understand what you're reading. Read the whole chapter. It doesn't hurt. Don't try to exegese the whole chapter. See what the chapter is talking about. Esther's a good book to read. I read it before when I was with lady when I was doing the Bible with Lady Red. We were doing it when we were supposed to be going through some other books as well. I think they probably just finished um Proverbs, and they're probably going into Job. They're going to go into Job. That's Lady Red's favorite book, Job. They're going to redo that again. And so we read the whole Bible and just keep reading it and understanding it and get the understanding, asking the questions who, what, where, when, this happened. That's what I always do. Well, why is this? Why is this? Why did John do that? Why did she? Why is this? Why did the guy Hannah wanted to do? Why did Haman wanted to kill Mordecai? Why he wanted to kill all the Jews? For what reason? Because Mordecai did not bow down to him. He did not honor him. So he's saying, you're a Jew. I can't just, you know what? I'm not just going to get rid of you. I'm going to get rid of all of y'all, and that's why we felt. That was the way he felt about it. I'll just get rid of all of you and I'll be happy. But in his plot flipped because Esther, when it was relayed to her, she hesitated, but she said no. Because Mordecai said to her, remember, if you allow this to happen, your father will perish and you will perish because you are one of us. So what did Esther do? She devised her own plan. She told her people, fast, 3 days, 3 nights. Don't drink, don't eat, fast, 3 days, 3 nights. My servants will do the same thing. What was she probably doing? Was she praying at that time because she was putting together a plan? Was she praying for things? But she stood strong in whatever. She stood strong in her faith that God would allow her to prevail to this, and that she would go before the king. She put together a banquet so that the king would have to be with her. She didn't have to summons him, and then she would be able to talk to him openly and relay the message of what was going to happen. And that's it. That's the whole plot right there. And when you look at that, you be happy. I like to once again, I want to thank all of you and all the people that have been viewing it. Please leave your comments there on Facebook when it comes on. I'm gonna try to get the other one that didn't come on, put it on Facebook. I'm sorry about the delay, but I really don't like when Facebook does that to me. it's really frustrating, and I know I had set the time frame and everything, and it was set. And apparently, something went wrong, but I'm gonna try to make sure that everything is set for you next time. If not, we're gonna find another platform, and we'll just direct you to that platform. But when we post, it will always go to the iHub. It's God dash and dash Jesus Christ. So it's dashes in the middle, then dot iHub app, and you'll come up. Don't worry, I'll put that in the I'll post it for you so you can go there and you can see it. Once again, also too, if you want to commit yourself, you want to give your life to Christ. You want to give your life to Christ. Here's what I'm gonna ask you to do. Find a place in your home, your home. Find a corner for you and ask God. Go to Him. Go to Him. Empty your heart out with your compassion. Empty your heart out. Lay all your confessions of your sins at His, as we say, at His doorstep. Lay all your confessions. Come to Him and say, Heavenly Father, I am, lay your confessions there. Lord and Savior, Jesus, within my heart, I come to you. I want you to take control of my life. I believe you are the Lord and Savior. I believe you were nailed to the cross. You died on the cross. You were taken down and buried. You rose on the third day. You now sit at the right hand of the Father. Come into my life. Take control of my life. I beg of you. Say that with your heart. Everything must be sincere as you do it. With your sincereness, after you're that, then you go and do your outward solemn commitment that you're giving your life to Christ. That is your baptism. You find a church that does baptism. You get baptized. If they can't dunk you in the water, they can do the holy cross across you. They can. All right. Other things too. If the ministry has been a blessing to you, if you have found more understanding with the Bible, there is the app for you going across the Cash App. $25 GJCM. That's God in Jesus Christ Ministry. With that ministry, we send money. Money is used to help feed people. This money is going to be used to help organize our school. The school that we're going to start is also going to help organize other projects that I'm looking at and things that we're going to do. But we want to thank you. I want to thank each and every one of y'all for coming on tonight. Please enjoy yourself. God bless you.